All right, guys. Special Almost Human Live tonight for obvious reasons. We lost Ozzy Osbourne today. Never, what did the shirt say again? Thou shall, thou shall remember. You know, wow. Look, and I see a lot of comments, people like, and I even talked to a friend earlier today, and he was like, "Yeah, but you saw it coming." I was like, "No, I refuse to think of Ozzy Osbourne as died." You know what I mean? I don't care how fucked up he was. I wanted him to live. And by him dying, look, 76 is very old for him. The way he lived his life, all the craziness he did. It's amazing he made it to 76, but shit, I wish he would have made it to fucking 96 because around there is when I'm gonna die, you know. But I'm gutted. I first heard it. I won't repeat myself because I already did a news story on it today, but I just will say this part. I got a phone call from a friend that said Ozzy died, and I'm thinking probably clickbait. I was thinking, but then again, I'm thinking my friend tells me this shit. And then I get a message from a girl from Birmingham telling me that Ozzy died. And I was like, oh. And so when I went to go to do the news, I put on Sad Bloody Sabbath beforehand. I couldn't make it through the first song. Right when Ozzy was hitting those high notes at the end, I had to turn it off. And I haven't listened to, I listened to a lot of different bands today, but not Ozzy. I can't yet. And after we're done with this show tonight, I'm gonna watch this because I don't think I've watched it. I think I've seen this maybe once or maybe twice. A document. This is how I'm gonna ease into listening to Ozzy again. But my God, man, this is a day I never wanted it to happen, and I never, Ozzy was once diagnosed by doctors that he was a living miracle. Because of all the way his body is. It was like a miracle that he lived through everything he fucking went through.
Yeah, that ATV accident almost took him out.
Yeah, yeah, and before that, when they were filming the Osbourne's TV show, he was so hopped up on pills. He talked about that later. That's why he's slurring a lot in that show. You know, shit, dudes.
Yeah, I was at my I was with my mom, and I was taking her shopping, and I have a friend that works at the supermarket, and I ran into him and we said what's up and stuff, and lifelong Ozzy fan like me. And then I'm walking around with my mom. I already said goodbye to him, and like 10 minutes later, I see him running towards me from across the fucking supermarket, and he's like, "Yo, my boss just asked me if I wanted to leave because he said Ozzy died." And he thought he'd be so sad he would have to leave work. And I was like, no, I couldn't believe it. And then he pulled up his phone. He said, oh, it'll be on the main page on my phone. And as soon as he pulled up his phone, he had like 10 messages of people saying, fucking Ozzy died, Ozzy died. And then I had to spend like an hour with my mom because she takes forever shopping. And she's 86 years old and she's walking around. And I try to tell her she doesn't care. And so I'm just shopping with her for that whole hour, and it's not really sinking in. I'm just going, oh, this can't be. It's got to be just like a false thing or whatever. And then as soon as I got in my car, I put the radio on instead of the CD I had in, and I heard Fairies Wear Boots, and I never hear that on the radio. You hear like the handful of Sabbath songs, and then a bunch more Ozzy songs, solo songs. But once I heard that, I was like, oh my God. And then drive home and heard a couple more Ozzy songs on the way. And I was just listening to Blizzard's of Oz. And I had like, half an hour when I seen the message to get ready for this. I see a lot of people putting up the tribute and stuff. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
He
I
taught
kind of hit me at lunch, but I posted something earlier on Facebook. I went to work this morning and we stream music at work through the store. I mean, I run a store that sells guitars and amps and stuff. So we always try to have music playing. And I don't know, I logged into YouTube Music this morning and what I want to hear, and for some reason I said, I want to hear some Ozzy. And I went and played Diary of a Madman. And when it was done, a couple other songs played. I can, some other stuff. And I went back, I want to hear No Rest for the Wicked. And I went through that all. Just something kept telling me to play Ozzy, and then I went home at lunch, which was around 1 o'clock. And I was, I had was talking to Richard. Richard's supposed to join us here. He's tied up with something. I was talking to Richard about something. And he called me and we were talking about some records or something. And I hung up with him and I ate my lunch and I was walked outside. The guy was over here cutting the grass, and I walked out to talk to him, and my phone is just blowing up. I mean, it's just text after text coming in. Ozzy's died. Did you see Ozzy died? And I'm like, what? So I immediately look on Facebook and I see it. And I was like, wow. And I called Richard and I said, man, dude, where are you? He said he was in Costco or something. I said, dude, Ozzy died. And he's like, are you serious? And I said, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking, I think it's true, man. It's all over Facebook. I don't think it's a hoax. It was just like, damn,
Not as almost as cool as your story of that. You played Ozzy today, because and then found out he died later. As you all know, I've been in the hospital for 10 days. And I said it while I was in the hospital. I said, first thing when I get home, I want to hear Live at Last.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
And I put it on last night, such an amazing album, and because it's my favorite band ever, Ozzy. I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, he's talentless, or, people call him a buffoon and all this shit. Dude, I mean, nothing could be further than the truth. You try writing melodies like Ozzy Osbourne, because that's what he does. Even Bob Daisley admits that shit. Bob Daisley and Ozzy sang it with that fucking amazingness. Ralphus is gone. He'll be back. Oh, there he is.
He'll be back. There he is.
So
yeah, man. They said Ozzy would just come in, they would be jamming, and he would just start like na, 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 and making up, just saying stuff, saying words, and they would just, okay, they're recording it, so Bob would take that melody and go back and fit lyrics into the way Ozzy wanted to phrase things.
And I always defended Ozzy, man. In the midst of all the Ozzy haters out there, because really they don't understand. All right, it ain't for you. I get it, but he's not all these other things you say about him. Talentless, this and that. That guy, look, what did Bob Daisley ever achieve as big as Ozzy without Ozzy?
Yeah.
Now, I will say Bob Daisley's a huge part because he's a genius, and a great bass player, but without Ozzy's voice. Hey, man, I hate to say it because it is my favorite band of all time.
He was the yin to Ozzy's yang, really, if you think about it. They worked well together. Bob worked well with other people, but he never had the hit songs and the whole thing. He just didn't have the whole thing that he had with Ozzy,
I think it's because of Ozzy's voice.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a distinct voice. And Richie Blackmore once said he wanted Ozzy in Rainbow because he loved his melodic voice. Richie Blackmore said that. That's some crazy stuff there, But
as much as that would have never worked. it would have been interesting to see anyway.
Yeah, it would have been funny, maybe demos would have happened. That's it.
Yeah.
But that would have been great to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to my friend Ruben, maybe I'll pull it out later. The last thing he released, I think, is my favorite thing he's done since No More Tears. I'm talking about the song No More Tears. I'm not really a big fan of that album, but the song Crack Cocaine. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruben got me it on vinyl. Man, that is such a killer song.
Oh, wow. So they released it?
Yeah, let me grab it.
Man, I didn't even know they had released it.
What's the guy's name that did it with Ozzy?
Is that the Billy Morrison? Maybe is that who it is?
Yep, Billy Morrison. This right here, crack cocaine. This and it has Steve Stevens and who's this other dude or whoever it is. It rips, man. It's a ripping song. Yeah, and that's the last thing he's released, while he was alive. Because now Sharon will be releasing some stuff. But wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if the rumors are true that in Largo, Maryland, a pro shot Diary of a Madman was filmed at that venue?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be cool? Because the rumor is Sharon owns that footage. That Sharon's like, fuck it, he's gone. Let me release this now. Make more Ozzy money. You know what I mean? Let's hope, if anything. But my God, man. What's to say? What are they talking about in the chat? I'm sure everybody. I
I
put that.
haven't even logged. I haven't logged into the chat yet. I was trying to help a friend who's trying to log in to watch the show. Actually, so let me.
It worked for me the other day, so maybe I can get it to work for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put up a news thing, because the thing is that my news today would have been up an hour earlier, but I had a pause, man. It was tough. I got all choked up at parts. All right, let me pause and continue. But yeah, man. Fucking
Here we go.
today would have been up an hour earlier. Nope, it's
All
not.
right. I got it. Yeah, I got it now. We're good.
You got it?
Yep. Yep.
All right, good.
Al
So
Horter said, Al Horter was saying it's Billy Morrison's album. Yeah. Mean Metal Mike said, wonder if we'll get an Ozzy box set of unreleased songs that are locked away still. Oh, yes. You'll be getting a lot of Ozzy stuff coming out, I'm sure. And bring it on, whatever,
yeah, she's gonna unload a shitload of stuff now. Cause
You
man,
know, a guy was on Facebook, a friend earlier. He's just got back into collecting vinyl, and he was saying, "God, I don't have enough Ozzy and Sabbath records." And somebody replied, "Well, they're all going to go up in triple the value now." Because Richard told me that he went to a record show in Atlanta this past Sunday, and that everybody was looking for Black Sabbath records because of the Back to Birmingham concert and the whole hype on that. Everybody was looking for Black Sabbath records. Yeah.
I was just thinking after this is like a big giant boom for Black Sabbath and Ozzy right now. This is the biggest news story of the year, music wise. And they probably had such a huge boom of stuff. So I don't see something coming out right away. Like people saying, oh, box sets coming out right away. They'll be smart and they'll release it slowly throughout the years. And we'll just keep getting new stuff for years to come, which is great. And that's the way I think they should do it. Why flood it with a ton of shit? I don't need 20
Yeah.
Bark at the Moon tour bootlegs that are put on it. Like spread it out. It'll be nice getting it as time goes on to keep getting stuff. And I'm sure his kids will be taking over his legacy as time goes on. So they'll have stuff to put out. And it'll be like a Jimi Hendrix thing, but it should go for the rest of our lifetimes because there's still fucking Jimi Hendrix albums coming out every couple of years that had never been released. So just picture them coming out for the rest of our life. We'll always have
Those
Ozzy.
things,
Ozzy's immortal. He'll always be with us.
tell
those
me,
Jim, those Jimi Hendrix records are hilarious. I think we put out everything, and then I was sitting on the couch in the studio the other week, and I found these tapes, and it was Jimi
Yeah.
Hendrix.
Yeah, this is the bathroom tapes that he had a little tape recorder in the bathroom, and you'd hear little shit sounds in between takes and stuff.
what's wild about that to me is that all these Hendrix songs that keep coming out, they're all fucking great. I was like,
Yeah,
God, this guy's been dead 50 years and he's still releasing new music to me. It's like all the years I'm hearing these new songs. But let me tell you, would this be the ultimate Ozzy release, audio wise? They would release You Can't Kill Rock and Roll and Tonight with the whole solo till Randy stops. Till Randy stops. How
yeah,
many?
turn it up.
Yeah, how many times you listen to the end of that shit and you're turning that shit up?
Yeah, that solos. Yeah, you're right, man. It's kind of like when it's kind of like when Dio released that Holy Diver thing, and he has the end that solo at the end of Invisible. You hear it till Vivian stops. So
Yeah.
that was just so cool. But yeah, man, anything like that of Randy Rhoads would be amazing, man. And you know, I mean, they've got so much recorded live stuff recorded they could put out, and there's probably some demos and stuff too that would be really neat. I mean, maybe one day we'll get those Holy Grail tapes from Bob Daisley, but you got to imagine, was there any, he's got tapes of them just rehearsing and stuff, but I wonder if there's any the rehearsal tapes and when Ozzy first started rehearsing with like those other guys and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That would be really neat to hear what they were doing. They were probably jamming on Sabbath covers, probably just to see if it
I,
worked.
I don't think Bob Daisley would have recorded that because according to Bob Daisley, he met up with him in the same night. Bob Daisley said these guys ain't gonna work out. And then Ozzy walked in the room going, "Ain't working out, guys. You're fired." And that's how they got Randy Rhoads.
Ralph, I was watching your thing from earlier today that you posted on the Only News That Matters, and you were telling the story about meeting Ozzy pre-internet at that where they were doing an interview for Headbangers Ball. And man, I've never heard you tell that before. What year was that?
It was, what year did Osmosis come out?
Probably like 95, maybe.
All right. It was before Osmosis came out. And in that interview too, like I didn't know shit about Shinola. As I said, Ozzy would fucking joke around and then look at me, like right at me. And I'm like this guy in a long hair with an Ozzy shirt, so he knows I'm a fan. And it was just so cool having that kind of weird interaction with Ozzy, you know? And in that interview, he said, "Oh, I got a new guitar player, Joe Holmes. He was a student of Randy Rhoads." That's the first time I heard that. And I was like, "Oh shit." Then later on, I found out, oh, the guy from Lizzie Borden, you know. But yeah, that was an amazing meeting with him, man.
Man, that's a fan's dream there, man. You just got invited to sit in on an interview, you know.
And then invited me into the little dressing room where
Yeah.
Ozzy sit down and he signed. Got it all right here on my wall, man. One, two, three, four. Four picture discs on my wall. I got them. I got a couple other autographs from the tour books. I got the Blizzard of Oz tour book. Man, if I would have taken out all my Ozzy stuff, I wouldn't be able to put it back till Sunday. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
I got to lay out bringing out the stuff. I just brought out that DVD because I got to play it. But yeah, man. And also, recently there's talk of the guy that originally managed Black Sabbath found some tapes of Earth. You guys heard this?
Mm-hmm.
They're releasing some stuff.
They already did. It's all up on YouTube right now, all the Earth demos.
Oh, but is the physical media
I don't.
available?
I think it's coming, but was it for sale already? I'm not sure, but I usually they release it and then it's like available. I think you can like buy like the MP3s right now. I don't know if there's an actual thing yet, but it was supposedly a release for it.
Yeah,
I
he's putting some tapes out, but it's not. I don't think it includes like the Rebel. Because you Ralph, you probably got that bootleg LP that's got the Earth. Is it? Have you got the one that's like half Earth demos and half Flying Hat Band? You don't have that. That
oh,
came out a few. It's a bootleg,
with
and
Glenn.
that's those. Yeah, it's Glenn Tipton's old band, but that side one is Earth demos, and it's got like the Rebel and Song for Jim and all that stuff like that. This is something totally different that this guy's putting out. So, and I guess
Well, I
he's
heard I
got
heard Al
clearance to
talking
do it.
about it. I
Oh,
heard Al talking about it, and he was saying that like he heard like these songs elsewhere throughout the years. Like there's not he made it seem like there was nothing that he hadn't heard, but to have it all together in one set and whatever, that's what makes it, I guess, unique. But he's heard like all the songs before.
I'd love to buy that because I don't buy MP3s because I'm not into paying for air.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Me too.
yeah, man. And this Monday, coming up is the 50th anniversary of Sabotage. And this Sunday on the Rock and Metal Combat podcast with Ian, we're going to have our buddy Mike Sears, and we're going to talk about Sabotage. We actually were supposed to do it last month, so something happened. So it's perfect because we're going to air it on Monday. So this coming Monday, check out. It's the Rock and Metal Combat podcast. There's a YouTube page.
Yeah, that's my favorite Sabbath album with Ozzy for sure.
Sometimes it's mine. Most of the times it's Volume 4. Sometimes it's Saturday Sabbath. Sometimes it's Master Reality.
I do that more with Black Sabbath than with any other band. Like
Yeah.
I'll go like 2 years with it being Volume 4 being my favorite, then 2 years of Sabotage, and the last couple of years it's been Master Reality for me. But it's usually between those three. But then I put on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and I'm like, I think that's Ozzy's greatest vocal performance out of all his bands and albums. I think that is like his, people like you were saying earlier about like his vocals, how unique he is. Yeah, there's been some people that kind of copied him a little bit later on, but when he came out, nobody sounded like him. And I mean, he's such a unique guy. You always know it's him when you hear him, and there's not so many singers that have such a stamp on their sound like that where and he wasn't even somebody that they all like hundreds of bands try to copy. It was more like the doom stoner bands of the late 90s and stuff that came out that try to copy it more. But back in the day, no one even really attempted to try to sound like him. He's just such a unique, underrated singer. And he doesn't get credit as a great vocalist, and he definitely is, because they don't become your favorite band of all time because the singer was just okay. I think maybe you compare him to Dio, and that becomes a problem, because I think Dio technically is like a better singer, but I think Ozzy's way more unique, and that's pretty much more important, more original. you know I prefer the Ozzy Sabbath as my favorite Sabbath, like we've talked about before.
Well, if you're going to 70s Sabbath, man, Ozzy was just as organic as the band itself. His vocals, like over that music, come on. I mean, there's nothing better. There's
It's the
just,
perfect chemistry.
yeah,
Perfect chemistry.
listen to Ozzy singing Electric Funeral with that band behind him.
Yeah.
Nothing more badass. Nothing more freaking badass. You know who came up with the melody of that song? Ozzy fucking Osbourne. And hey, he wrote lyrics. He wrote the riff. That's a fucking killer song.
Oh man,
Yeah,
he
it's a good
screams his
song.
head off in that. He's screaming his head off in that. So much energy the way he sings in that one. You could tell that's like one that he wrote, because it's like he's really hitting those words hard. He had a
Yeah,
reason for what he wrote down in those words.
He
yeah, he was
did.
pissed.
He
He was
did.
pissed when he wrote that.
He wrote the lyrics to "Fairies Wear Boots," and the coolest one of all, he wrote the lyrics to the very first heavy metal song, Black Sabbath. And there was a guy that said, "No, he didn't. That was Geezer." Nope. I have an interview with Geezer, a video interview with Geezer. He talked about how Ozzy brought him this book, and then Geezer told him the story of this black figure standing in front of him. And Ozzy wrote the lyrics of Black Sabbath. Geezer Butler said that. That song, man. And Who Are You? That's all I know. There's more. But it doesn't matter if he didn't write any of those lyrics. He came up with those freaking melodies, man. And come on, he did everything on Bark of the Moon. Everything. Not only did he write all the songs, he played the drums, played the guitar, and the bass. Ozzy.
And
But
keyboards.
and keyboards, yeah.
Yeah.
Not down airy.
That's like who are you? He's like he came up with all that crazy keyboard pieces.
Am I going
Yeah.
insane? That's something I would be curious to know. The original Blizzard of Oz. Remember that shit? That was before Never Say Die.
Yeah.
Between Typical XC, Ozzy left Sabbath and formed a band called Blizzard of Oz, where there are pictures of them. It's three of them. There are pictures of them, Blizzard of Oz and this and that. But then Ozzy ended up going back to
And,
Black. But
Yeah, and
We were,
Ozzy's wearing shirts that say Blizzard of Oz. There's old pictures
yeah,
of Ozzy when he was in
yeah,
Sabbath wearing the Blizzard of Oz shirt.
he was wearing that Blizzard of Oz shirt during the Never Say Die years.
Yeah.
yeah.
He,
Who were the two guys that were in that band? Was that Dixie Lee
I
was
don't
the
know.
drummer?
I mean,
He was in. I
I
forgot
I
who
always thought that
he
was more
played
of an
with.
idea. I didn't know he like how far he got with it because really wasn't out of Sabbath for long and stuff. So I thought it was like more of his plan to do something, but I didn't know how far it really went. He doesn't really mention that much in his book about that era.
Who knows, man? It could have been like a week or two,
yeah,
or
That's what it
maybe
seemed like. That's what it
yeah,
seemed like. It wasn't like enough where they really had time to get anything really going, but they had shirts made up, so they were definitely working on it.
yeah. Did anybody see that recent "Get on the Bus" interview with Tommy Aldridge?
yes,
Uh,
yes,
that's the first time I've ever heard Tommy Aldridge talk about the plane crash. With Randy and
yeah. There was something really interesting he said in that. Um, Damn it. Wasn't about the plane crash, but he said something else about Ozzy that was super interesting. Richard just showed up. See if I can remember what it was.
Richard might remember. He just watched it. I think he just watched it yesterday. He said, "There he is."
Hey there, Richard.
Well, you're muted and you're just a photo. There you go. There he is. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Having Rich.
All right, all right.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about Ozzy, but I think you should talk a little bit about Ozzy. I mean, wait, first off, where were you and how did you find out?
I was in my car today. I had already spoke to Tony, and he called me back, and he was like, "Yeah, I think Ozzy died. It's all over the internet." And I was like, "Yeah, it's probably bullshit, internet people. You know how they always post people die when they haven't." And he said, "No, I think it's real." So I started doing a search, and I was like, "Yeah, Ozzy's Facebook posted it from the family," and I was like, "Yeah, it's real." So that's Tony actually told me.
So how did you react? It devastated you like it did us?
Yeah, I actually was, and I promised myself for all these years, I promised myself I wouldn't cry when he died. I wouldn't be emotional. But oh my God, it hit me. It did hit me like a ton of bricks. It really did. And it's like my go-to is Diary of a Madman, and I think part of the puzzle for that, I think part of the thing is like I listened to Diary immediately, and I was like, man, it really does. It's like what people say about heroin when you go back to the first time you heard a record, and it's like you just are instantly that 13 or 14-year-old kid, and the feelings you felt when you first heard it. You're always trying to chase that. You never recapture that with a band, and it just hit me today how much that record meant to me, and it's like a gateway drug, sort of. But yeah, and I really did I was overcome with emotion, and when it hit me, it's real. Even though we all knew it was coming, and we all knew that, you know, we knew it was coming, and it's still just like a really heavy weight. But yeah, I mean, he went out the best possible scenario. He got to do the show, and he sounded really good at the show, and I mean, that's what I was telling Tony. I think I was telling Tony today is like I was still shocked at how really good his voice sounded because I mean, I got bootlegs from Sabbath, bootlegs from Diary Blizzard Tour, and I got tons of bootlegs, audios, and stuff. And his voice didn't sound that well on stuff from 40 years ago. So I was really shocked when I heard how good he sounded at the back to the beginning. But yeah, man, it's bittersweet because I mean, it's just it's it's emotional because you realize. I mean, when I was 14, I worshiped this guy, and as you grow older and you really learn the weaknesses and I mean, when I heard Blizzard, he was a Superman to me, you know, and it was a weird thing because I heard those records and then on Diary Tour they came here, and I was 15 and I couldn't drive myself, and I sat there. My dad picked me up at school, and I sat there crying because they're playing the commercial, you know, on the rock radio station, you know, the one that every market had it, you know, do not show up unless you can psychologically handle it, and you're gonna get blood on you if you're in the first 10 rows. And I was like, I gotta go. My dad, he's like, no, you're not going. He's those stupid rock stars come back every year. He'll be back next year. And of course, he was back the following year on Bark at the Moon. Of course, Randy had gotten killed, and so I did go to the Bark at the Moon show with Molly. But I mean, you go from the you run the gamut of worshiping somebody and then like making these greatest records ever made until you get older and you're, oh yeah, they sort of screwed these people over and they sort of screwed these people over, and you learn not to worship people. But you know, it wasn't my imagination. Even in the video that Tommy Aldridge did a couple of days ago, he felt like hearing Randy play was something he'd never heard before, something supernatural, and so it wasn't my imagination as a 14-year-old teenager, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, it really hit hard, man. And I was so obsessed with Ozzy from probably the age of 13 till maybe 19 or 18. But you know, it's part of your DNA after you grow up with it and inject it into your system. It's there forever, and that's sort of the way I feel about it, I guess.
I think that when you say like the thing that is crazy is the timing, because we all just seen this giant show that he did and this big tribute and everything. The timing is unbelievable with this. If this happened 6 months from now, I think it would make more sense. But because it's right after the show, it reminds me of a lot of when Dio went to that Golden Gods Award, and then within 2 weeks, all of a sudden he's gone. It makes you, and then you hear, oh, he took everything it took to get him up there, and he wanted
Yeah,
to go up there and be brave that day. But it makes you wonder, like, was there more that they knew, the Osbourne family, about this? And I mean, they had planned it for a while, this show, but did they know at the end that it was really at the end? Like, there was more, like, kind of with the Dio is what I just came up with thinking of that, like how Dio's people knew that he didn't have long to go after he still went out and did that award, and then Ozzy does the big tribute show, and then man, he's not even, what is it? Yeah, about 2 weeks almost to the day, right? Or close to 2 weeks. I mean, fucking crazy.
You know, Ozzy mentioned right after the show that he had a good time, and he said he'd like to record more. He'd
Yeah.
like to record another album. He'd like to guest on other people's albums. So I don't think he had the intention of, you know, leaving as fast as he did. You
They had
know,
plans to do autographs signings and stuff. They said he was going to be going to conventions and stuff like that, and he was going to be out and doing things.
mm,
yeah. They're gonna. I don't know if you guys heard, but they're gonna release a movie this fall that's gonna be about the Back to the Beginning concert. I don't think they're going to show the whole thing in the theater, but I think it's going to be an edited version of. You'll probably get the Ozzy and the Sabbath sets, and you'll probably get some behind the scenes stuff, maybe, and how it built up to him doing these shows. And who knows, they might throw in some of the other bands that played some clips. You know, they can use the Sabbath songs that those bands doing the Sabbath covers and stuff.
I remember
Yeah,
hearing a while
that
back about an Ozzy biopic in the works too, a biopic for Ozzy. That, a
mhm.
big movie, which I'm sure he would have loved to have been around to see. But
Yeah, he wanted Johnny Depp to play him in the movie.
yeah, that was like 10 years ago when they were talking about
Yeah.
doing it.
Oh
Now
yeah.
I heard it. I heard there was more rumblings of it going on right now. I think there's even something in the works right now.
mm.
Yeah. There's a
Oh,
Scorpion. They're doing a Scorpions biopic that
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be a documentary on the band. They've actually got people playing the characters, so that should be
yeah.
interesting.
I could say, man, how awesome is it that Black Sabbath got to end with the original four.
That is incredible, man.
Yeah,
You know,
that
Ozzy went
is.
out. He went out at the top of his game. I mean, he went out with his brothers on stage in front, not in front of a small crowd of people or a regular coliseum. I mean, he was in a stadium. How many people were there? Do you guys know how many people were there? It was sold out.
It was only like 40,000.
Is
It
that
wasn't. It
all that
wasn't.
place holds?
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't like a giant stadium which holds
Okay.
80,000. It was
I
like
was
a
thinking, well, I was thinking 50. So yeah, but that's still, most coliseums hold 20. So
Then
yeah, that's killer.
and then add the pay-per-view.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, what a way to go out. And
And you know,
that's the way that's what hit me about the whole thing today. I mean, I was sad about it, but I was also glad that he went out the way he did because I mean, here we just had this killer show, and it's not like he had been inactive for the last 10 years or 5 years, and we didn't hear anything out of him, and he just dies like so many do, and we just saw him a couple weeks ago on screen on TV, and he was having the time of his life. I heard that he didn't take any of his medication that day because he wanted his mind to be clean because he wanted to be able to focus. A lot of the medications mess with his just I guess his mind and stuff. So
I think like the
he
whole week. I think I heard like the whole week he was taking the medication off because it made him too like unstable and stuff, and he
mhm.
just wanted to really concentrate on it. But maybe that could have affected him, But I'm sure he wouldn't have changed it any other way just to be
Yeah.
able to do that one last show like that.
and how lucky are we that he made it to that show?
Yeah,
A couple weeks before
yeah,
it. He's
so close.
I mean, I really assumed that he would just stop doing shows because he was so frustrated when he had to cancel. And I didn't figure he would do a show and die. I always assumed that he would quit doing shows and then ride off into the sunset. Nobody would ever hear from him again. And then 10, 15 years later, you hear, oh, Ozzy had a heart attack. Because, the illicit substances do catch up with you eventually, like a slingshot. But no, it was weird that he did a show and sounded so. I mean, I think everybody I've spoken to was like, wow, he sounded great. He's going to live another couple of years. And we all thought that.
Lemmy was a very similar. I mean, I don't know. I didn't look at the time, but didn't he do a show like 2 weeks before he died? Like he was doing shows
Yeah.
right up to the end, Lemmy. So it's very similar. I mean, he worked really his whole life up to the end. Where Ozzy did take off performing live for in the last 10 years a lot, but
Yeah.
it definitely feels like the same thing with Lemmy.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
saw
the thing
Lemmy.
about yeah.
I was gonna say I saw him about 4 months before Lemmy died, and I just had a feeling in my stomach watching him that this is it. They're not coming back. He's in terrible condition. I didn't think he's going to die right away, but I just and I
You
had
can hear
that
that
feeling.
final show.
I had that same feeling watching the live stream of Ozzy doing "Mama, I'm Coming Home," and then that's just it's just the way I felt. I was like, yeah,
I
is
felt
it,
like
you know.
Lemmy deteriorated a lot near the end, though. Like he just
Yeah.
got really skinny and shrunk it down. Like Ozzy didn't look like that. He was in a chair, but he looked full and like he looked like he had some energy, and you could see him trying to get up at times and stuff. But Lemmy really, and then when you hear the final recording that Motorhead did, you can hear how weak his voice is. Where Ozzy, it really didn't come off like that. He sounded pretty good. I wouldn't say top of his game or nothing like that, but sounded great for his predicament that he was in.
Yeah, I wish they'd stop releasing those last Motorhead shows. Lemmy wouldn't want that stuff out. They just keep releasing it. It's just not good.
I didn't even buy it. I wouldn't.
I don't either.
I got it. I listened to it once, and I don't ever go back to it because it is sad. And I remember missing the last time Motorhead played New York because it sold out, and it was in that cycle where he was, really doing bad. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't go because the last time I seen him, they were fucking amazing, and he was still had a lot of power, and he wasn't all old and sick like at the end.
Did you see him the tour before the last one, Ralph?
I forget exactly. I tried to see him pretty much every time he came
Yeah,
around, but I've
I'd
seen it.
seen him 2 years before he died, but it was still great. And then I was gonna go see him on the last tour if they came, which I think they did come to Charlotte, right, Dio? But
Mhm.
I just saw the YouTube and it was bad. It was his voice was scratching. He'd lost a lot of weight. He looked really frail, and I was like, no, I don't want to see that. So I
Uh,
never. 2 years earlier, I saw it, and it was really a perfect scenario. But the lighting director recognized me right off the bat. I stood with him, me and my wife, and then we would walk back to the dressing room by Mickey D, hung out with Mickey D, and then waited and said hello to Lemmy. And I mean, it was just a perfect scenario. So I'm glad I let it end when it ended, because otherwise I'd have this scarring memory of a weak Motorhead, which it doesn't exist in my mind. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I did see their last U.S. tour, last U.S. show, Pompano Beach. After that, they went to Europe. Those were the last Motorhead shows.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Last U.S. show was in Pompano Beach, and oddly enough, I saw the very first Motorhead show in the United States at the Miami Baseball Stadium. They were opening for Heart and Blows the Call.
Wow.
Oh man.
That's awesome.
I've come to
Yeah.
that a bunch of times in between, not enough because they didn't come down here that much. But every time they were here, I'd go see them, all the way to the end. And I saw a couple of the motorboat shows. He was already showing it there too.
Yeah.
But
But
he's
Yeah.
yeah.
my man.
What was the
Hey.
last time each of you guys seen Ozzy?
The last time I saw Ozzy was 2010. I had VIP. This is a sad story. I don't even want to repeat the story. But I had VIP and front row seats. And
Where?
I got pictures of me covered in foam with Ozzy with foam gun and shit.
Oh yeah, I seen that picture today.
And I
Where was it?
huh?
Where
Florida?
was it?
What tour? Scream.
Was it in Florida indoors? Was it an indoor show?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an indoor show, and I met him before. It was the second time I met Ozzy, but that was more of a photo op. Where the first time I talked about it earlier, I hung out a little bit with
Yeah.
Ozzy. And I said in the news, but I said it again. Ozzy's having a conversation with me, and like when he's done with his sentence, I'm like, "Thank you for your time, Ozzy." I left, and I'm like, "Dude, I spent too much time with Ozzy. It wasn't cool, man." It's like, come on, Ozzy needs to be Ozzy. You don't need no dumbass like me, little fanboy bugging him. Though he wasn't bothered by what I said. I didn't want him to get bothered because I could have sat there all talking about fucking stupid shit. But he was super nice to me. What I do regret, and I didn't say this in the news, what I do regret was, all right, while I'm walking out, Ozzy's with like the people at Spanish MTV taking pictures, choking them like, "Ah," and I'm like, why didn't I bring a camera? Right? So that was, all right, I'll tell a little bit of story. I had a girlfriend, we were having problems. She's the biggest Ozzy fan. So I bought her and I VIP to meet Ozzy to make her happy. It didn't work out. But either way, that my goal is to make her happy and to fucking get a picture with Ozzy, goddammit. Because I lost that opportunity before. So I did. I got to it was very brief meeting him there. But whatever. I got my picture with Ozzy, man. And yeah, and that time I really briefly told him like he gives a fuck. I go, Ozzy, man, I had him sign like an autograph. I go, you're like my favorite, Ozzy, you're my favorite. And he's like, but yeah, that was and he sounded great. He sounded great that night. That was a very great performance he did. His voice was really good. The last time I saw Ozzy, he was great, and I'm glad because I've seen a lot of Rocky Ozzy
Yeah.
shows
Yeah.
where he shot. Not that night. He was on, man. But anyway, I'm gonna have you guys talk because my mom was calling. So talk some Ozzy.
Well, my last time seeing Ozzy, it's a pretty crazy story. Is So I went to see him on the 13th tour in Brooklyn, and then I seen him on the end tour at Madison Square Garden. And on the way down, we go through from coming upstate to New York City. We go through Jersey for like this 8 mile period, and Jersey had real strict marijuana laws. And that's where there was just pull off before we get on the George Washington Bridge, where we'd always stop at the same like gas station, go to the bathroom one last time before you get in the city, because there's nowhere to go in the city till you get into the venue. So we'd always pull off there, and I go to the bathroom, and I'm waiting for my wife. She's in the bathroom, so I start hitting a bowl, smoking some weed, and there's undercover cops in the parking lot, and they come right over, and they act like they want to talk about something hanging from my mirror, and they go, "Whoa, what do you got going on in here?" And then they flash the light on me, and I had like a joint worth of weed, and they fucking arrested me, uh handcuffed me, bring me down to the station, made me get luckily we left early, but to get down to the show, because we wanted to get there early and party down there. But I ended up going to the police station in Jersey, getting fingerprinted, and they took
Oh my
pictures of
God.
my took pictures of my tattoos and stuff. And at first the cop was being really cool, and he knew we were on our way to Sabbath and everything. He's like, "Oh, you coming down to see Black Sabbath tonight?" Like, yeah. He's like, "Oh, this will be quick. We'll get you in and out." And then they dicked around, and it took forever. But he's like, "Don't worry, you'll get to the show." And we had to find our way from this cop station to this show, and we get there and we missed 3 songs. So that kind
Mm.
of sucked, you know. My final time seeing them, and I missed 3 songs. But then it went on for like 6 months, because they kept making me go to court all the way down in New Jersey. It was like a 2 hour ride to get to the court, and they just kept postponing it, and then making me go through different things. And my last time I was there, I was like, just give me the fucking fine. And they ended up like suspending my license in New Jersey. Like to this day, I probably don't have a license in New Jersey, but I wasn't even a driver. I was in a parked car, and they still suspended my license. And
Mm.
then they made me pay like $1,000 plus like the 5 times going down to court. It ended up being such a like nightmare. And then like
Mm.
a year later, pot's legal all over the place around here now. And it's like, but
That's
I
the way
went
it
through
goes.
hell, and that's
Wow.
that. I always talk about how my first Sabbath show was Glenn Hughes singing, and it was like the night that he got fired. Basically, he couldn't sing, and people were booing him, and they really were horrible. And then I had my last time seeing Black Sabbath, and it was like another nightmare night. But every time in between was fucking great. But yeah, I seen him on the Scream tour. Like Ralph was saying, I seen him on his. I think it was his 62nd birthday. I think it was on the Scream tour, and Halford was opening up, but they bring a big cake out for Ozzy and stuff. I remember that. But I remember Ozzy only came back again one more time after that Madison Square Garden tour, and that was an Ozzy solo tour. And I didn't go because I think it was like Five Finger Death Punch or somebody opening, and maybe Megadeth or something. I forget exactly
Mhm.
who. I remember thinking like, I don't care about going, and it was like all the way in PNC. It was like a long ride for that. But then as soon as that happened, everything started going bad for Ozzy, and he started canceling. Like I think he canceled like most of that tour, and
Yeah, he did.
then I started thinking, "Fuck, I think that might have been my last time that I was ever going to see him." And it's kind of weird with this whole back to the beginning. Everybody's like crying when they were watching. People were crying when he's singing "Mama, I'm Coming Home." Like to me, Ozzy's final shows were way back then. This is just like one added on thing. So I've already kind of accepted that Ozzy wasn't playing again for like 10 years now. And then so
Yeah.
this was just an added thing. It wasn't like all of a sudden now he's ending it, you know. So it didn't hit me as hard as I think other people as far as it being a final thing. I was just happy that Bill was part of it, you know, this time around. And that was the main thing for me. But now it has a definitely more of a significance now that Ozzy passes 2 weeks later, you know.
It just adds to the lore of Black Sabbath. You know what I mean? That band is such a force that they ended with the four people right before Ozzy died. They
Yeah.
got. I mean, come on, man. I mean that's just part of Sabbath history. There, that not many bands, if there's any bands that can say, "Oh, we did this reunion," and then a couple weeks later, so and so dies from that reunion. Might have happened, but I haven't heard of it. and it's definitely
Yeah,
not.
I haven't had time. I haven't had time to think of that. The first thing that came to mind was Lemmy was playing really close to the end, but nothing like this is our final day and then we die. Like I can't think of anything that came up like
No.
that.
So
Someone
Tony,
says in the chat here, Lemmy and Ozzy both passed away 17 days after their last show.
Whoa.
Wow. Oh shit. That's weird because I didn't look at the how many days or nothing. And I thought it was so it's a little bit over 2 weeks since the Ozzy show. Yeah, because it's fucking
so
wow.
Dio, what was the last show you saw with Ozzy?
I was thinking about it, man. I think the last time I saw Ozzy was with Black Sabbath on Ozfest the year that Maiden played. So what was that?
Oh
Oh
five.
nine,
No,
oh five.
2005.
So 20 years ago. I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen Ozzy since then because I don't recall seeing any solo shows or anything since that at all. But
Yeah,
I
my last. Yeah.
saw him quite a few times between
Yeah.
that then and 84. So
My last show was the Garden, the one that Ralphus was talking about. That was the last show that I seen.
Oh wow.
I was there as a driver. Yep.
Oh shit.
Yep. So that
Yep.
was it. And I like, well, they're at the Garden. I got to see that. I didn't watch a lot of those shows. I mm, wasn't really excited about Bill not being there. But I mean, I did watch a few of them, especially in the beginning before they started dropping songs and stuff. But I was like, well, this is the Garden. I gotta see Garden, the Madison Square Garden. So that was the last time I saw Ozzy.
Uh,
I never did not go when Ozzy rejoined with Sabbath. I never didn't go to at least one of the shows in my area every single time that they came through. Every time. Once same thing with Dio. I missed the Radio City show, but every other time they came in my area with Dio and Sabbath, I didn't miss it. That was I never got tired of it. I could have did it every 6 months if it would have kept coming by.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm very happy I got to see the original Sabbath. I mean, that was always a dream of mine.
yeah, me too. Me too.
yeah, that's something I thought I'd never see.
Me
And then
too.
I got to see him quite a few times because just it was just one of those things. Oh, they'll never get back together. When they got back together for Live Aid, that was a big thing. Just the fact that you had the four original guys on stage playing.
I thought they played well that day, man.
They
Yeah, they
did,
did.
man. Yeah, there was rumors going around after that show. I remember seeing some rumors in some magazines that were saying that they were going to get back together and do a new record. And it was going to be called Black Sabbath featuring Ozzy Osbourne. But,
That reunion show to me is probably my single favorite show of all time that I ever seen because like you were saying, like I never thought I'd see Sabbath. Then they did the Ozfest where they had that guy from Faith No More playing drums, and that was
Yeah.
blew my mind. Seeing Ozzy with Tony Iommi, that was I as good as I was gonna get, I thought. But then when they did that full tour, we've talked about it before, but that tour
yeah.
with Pantera and Deftones, me and my friends took a limo down to that. I've never done that before, but that's how big of a deal it was to me. I'm like, we're getting a fucking limo for this. This is the most important show of all time. And Pantera was good and stuff, but when I think of the show, I just think of how amazing. Like to me, that would have been going out on top. If they would have ended after
Yeah,
that tour and nothing
yeah,
ever happened. To me, that Ozzy was at his peak that long
yeah.
ago, and that's 25
Yeah, I
years
thought the
ago.
same thing. And I traveled from Atlanta to Dallas and Houston to see two of those shows with Pantera and Deftones. And it was like, you know, same thing. I went to Costa Mesa to see the four get back together in '92. And so that, yeah, those reunion shows, yeah, definitely. They could have stopped there because the Ozfest I did 04, 05 with Sabbath, it was always good, but Ozzy had begun to decline. He just didn't have
Yeah,
that intensity. But
they were
and
limited on the songs that they would do. They
yeah,
kept Dirty Women never left the set, but then you didn't get like so many other great Sabbath songs. But all of a sudden, Women is like one of their greatest songs because it never leaves the set, and the sets were short. I say it all the time to people, but if they didn't go to that reunion show, then they don't realize how much shorter those
oh yeah,
Ozfest shows were
they
because they
were.
were co-headlining.
Yeah,
They
they get
would.
an hour, and then Tony's going to do a guitar solo piece. It's going to last a little bit. So
Yeah. Long
yeah,
intro coming in and stuff.
Richard and I were talking the other day, and I know we've had him on the show a few times and stuff. And he told me a story today he's never told me, and I think you should tell it. It's a Ozzy story about that tour book, man. We were talking about Tommy Aldridge and yesterday, and you were telling me about that itinerary book that you got, and that Sharon
Oh,
wanted to
yeah.
buy it from you.
Yeah. um, yeah, I was working local crew here in the 90s, and I was doing a U2 show, Zoo TV or whatever it was. And the guys, the other workers, my friends, they're giving me shit, calling me a homosexual slander, and calling me a fanboy because I was excited because I was going to see. I was working Ozzy Sepultura and Typo Negative the next day, and they were fucking with me. And we are in a truck with a driver, and they're like, "Yeah, Richard's gonna suck Ozzy off tomorrow," and they're fucking shoving me into a wall and all this stuff. And the driver's like, "Ozzy, I did a tour with that guy," and and I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, somebody got killed, like a guitar player or something." And I'm like, "You know, March 19th, 1982, Randy Rhoads got killed, the guitar player." And he said, "Somebody else, like a wardrobe lady." I said, "Rachel Youngblood, the wardrobe lady." And he's like, "How do you know that? How do you know what day it was? How do you know?" I was like, "Oh, I just keep up with Ozzy." And he said, "Man, I got a lot of crap from that tour. I'll send you some stuff." And
Huh.
months later, I got a package in the mail, and I did work the Sepultura Typo um, Ozzy show, which was cool because it had Joe Holmes on guitar, and it's a shame he didn't get to stay with Ozzy and work some stuff out. But I did get a package in the mail from this guy. His name was Richard Douglas, and he sends me a package, and it had a crew itinerary from the tour. It had a long letter detailing how when Randy got killed in Florida, Sharon had said, "Just go back to Atlanta, wait in a truck stop. We're not going to cancel the tour. We're going to have another guitar player. Just go back and wait. Don't, we're not, this tour's not over." And he sent me a long letter detailing all of the phone calls, and he sends me a couple of shirts that were unique to the tour, like Texas, just different little odds. But anyway, the crew itinerary, which was only given to crew members, he sends me, and I started getting it signed.
For those
I
of you
got
who don't know what that is, it's a book, and it's got like all your
hotel.
dates in it, hotels where each date where you're staying at, and who's in charge here and whatever. And it's got one for every day of the tour. It's a booklet that's made up. It's pretty neat if you've ever seen them.
I got some here, but I don't have that one anymore. But I went and got it. I was determined to get the rest of the band on it, sign the front of it. So I got the front of it was a Xerox, but it was that picture of Ozzy where it had the horns behind his head or whatever. It's like in a cape. But anyway, I started getting it signed by Rudy Sarzo. Quite right, we're doing a reunion. I got it signed by Rudy. I got it signed by Don Airy with Deep Purple. I got it signed by Tommy Aldridge, who was out with Nugent. And then Ozzy, I got Tony Dennis took it to Ozzy's dressing room in '99 Ozfest, and he come back out and he had like this deer in the headlight look on his eyes. He's like, he handed me the book back and it was signed by Ozzy, and he said, "I've never been in this predicament before." And I'm like, "Yeah, what's that?" And he's like, "Sharon wants to buy it."
Wow.
And I don't know. I was talking to Deal about this. I don't know exactly what he meant, but he said theirs got destroyed in the fire. So I don't know if the bus was on fire or if their house had a fire. I don't know.
I think it was an office fire or something like that. Yeah.
But and so I looked at Tony Dennis and I was like, "Well, how much do they want to give me for it?" And Tony looked at me and said, "I'm not sure. I didn't ask." And I just looked at it, and it's signed by these people, and it's like Diary of a Madman. The Diary of a Madman tour only did two shows. The second leg after the break started in Atlanta, and then the next leg was Knoxville, Tennessee, and then the next show, I'm sorry, and then the next show was to be Super Bowl of Rock in Tampa, Florida, and he got killed before that. Randy did. So they only did 2 shows on that itinerary. So I was just like, nah, I'm gonna keep it. And Tony patted me on the shoulder and he gave me a big smile. He said, I knew you wouldn't sell it. And he started, he laughed and walked off. He said, I'll go tell her. But yeah, so I had that itinerary, and once I um, had a heart attack and surgery and liquidated a lot of things, I downsized this house too. But once everything went, you're on your deathbed, you just whatever you do stuff. But anyway, I ended up selling it.
Oh,
But yeah, it was one of the craziest things I've ever come into possession of. But and then
what
I
did you
like
get? What did you get for it? I gotta ask. What did you get for that? That sounds like a priceless.
$3,500.
That that's a good amount. I just wondered, man, what could that be worth though? Like,
Yeah.
but that's pretty amazing. But yeah, if you had it in an auction, it could have went for who knows how much,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And what's weird is no one had died yet. And this was about 5 years ago when I had a heart attack. But and all those guys are still alive. Rudy Sarzo, Don Airy, Ted Nugent,
But even
Ozzy.
without the autographs,
Tommy
that
Aldridge.
even without the autographs, that seems like such a rare thing to
Yeah,
have. You know, there's
Yeah.
only a few of them.
yeah. I got a bunch of. I mean, obviously, I got all the itineraries from every tour I've ever done in a Tupperware, and but yeah, I mean, I've looked at some that auction off, and I had a friend send me a ton of them recently. He just cleaned out his house, and he sends me stuff like Tom Petty and Metallica, and I mean, they're really none of them are worth $40-$50 or nothing.
I
And
would think the
it's
one where Cliff Burton dies would be one, and maybe like
yeah,
the Leonard Skinner one when the plane crash, like that one would
right.
probably be like worth a fortune. I think
And
if it has like yours had the Randy Rhoads story connected to it, so that's like one
Yeah.
of those ones that would really be sought after.
You know,
yeah,
the day after the Super Bowl, whatever it was,
yeah.
they played Miami, and I had tickets to that.
Mm,
So Randy died 2 days or 2 or 3 days before I saw him live.
yeah. That's they don't do itineraries anymore. I've done a couple of tours. Like it's been a few years, but the I did the Sabbath the End tour, the first leg, and I did a U2 tour, whatever. I don't know what year it was. It was about 9-10 years ago. But the itineraries are now PDF files. Oh, I did a Paul McCartney one too. Anyway, but anyway, the itineraries aren't bound books anymore. It's now PDF files. They just send you an email, or they do some Google crap where you gotta like sign in to look at it. It's not the
Right.
same as having an itinerary on your dash with the. I got some really cool ones. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. Not, but I was out with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and the guitar tech at the time was played in some Sunset Strip band, and the production manager got a hold of some flyers and made itineraries with that guy's big hair band on the front and stuff. So yeah, but yeah,
Nice.
definitely things change. But yeah, I've seen that Madison Square Garden show, and then Ozzy sounded good. So
Yeah.
I, I mean, I can't. I I did the Ozfest 2010, and I think about it sometimes. I want to find a bootleg of that or a show, and because the shows that that I remember was like, I mean, obviously Rob Halford, the band Halford was opening that, and then it went from Halford to Motley Crue to Ozzy, and it's like, I mean, I was like, I don't know if it's my imagine. I mean, obviously Rob Halford is top notch, but yeah, he was a hard act to follow, and that Halford band was a hard act to follow. But I now wonder, is the rest of those people as bad as I remember them? I need to go back and find an Ozfest 2010 bootleg because in my mind I was just ended up watching Halford, and then I'd be like, the rest of this I'm going back, I'm leaving. I don't even after Rob Halford's Halford set, it was just like over. But yeah, it was Vince Neil definitely should have retired a long time ago, but
Yeah.
that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, But yeah, I'm glad I did see the Madison Square Garden. I think that was a good venue for. I mean, and the last Ronnie show I saw was Atlantic City. I mean, even though it wasn't Radio City, I was there at Radio City, so that was cool too. So
I was like 2 days before that, or like at the Felt Forum, which is right under Madison Square Garden, is where
yeah,
they played with
yeah,
Coheed and
yeah.
Cambria, and then a couple of days later he plays his final show, and
And
that's the
circling
one you
back
went
to
to.
Ozzy Osbourne at the Atlantic City Heaven and Hell show, Ronnie's last show, they kept saying it's not Coheed and Cambria, it's not Coheed and Cambria, it's this girl, metal girl. I'm like, what? And it was Lizzie Hale, and from what I watched of this back to the beginning, Lizzie Hale was definitely one of the top contenders. Man, she was good.
She can sing. Yeah,
Yep.
that's for
I
sure.
seen her open up for Alice Cooper a few years back up at Woodstock there.
I remember in '80 Trump was down there interviewing her, and I was like, why is he interviewing some teenager? You know, and she's a big
Yeah,
deal
man.
fan too, so I like her. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the band, but she's a great singer. She
yeah.
really is.
I think Aloe said that he on some other show he doesn't like Perry Mason. And he hates that song, but her version of it was really good.
Yeah. 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 Looking in the chat, our buddy James West is in. He sent us some kudos that Ozzy, he said, what's up, brothers? I love you, Ozzy. And Randy played in my town, but I was too young. So my second concert was Ozzy in '86. The last one was 2007. Saw Ozzy 10 times, counting the Sabbath shows. Get well, James. James back in the hospital again. Ralph,
Yeah,
if you didn't know, man. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, he's having a rough time. Yep. Yep.
Feel bad
Yep.
for
But yeah, man. I was too young to go see Ozzy when I wanted to go see him the first time too. So how you feel, man?
I wasn't. I was old as hell. I saw Randy Rhoads.
That's because you're old.
That's the first time I ever saw Ozzy too. You know,
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
time I saw Black Sabbath on the Heaven and Hell tour, this song I'll never forget. I was already a huge fan of Black Sabbath with Ozzy, but I really liked the Heaven and Hell album. The fuck it, I support it. And I'll never forget, man, two older hippies like, it ain't sad without Ozzy, man. Two guys were yelling that shit. But yeah, because Ozzy was special, man. The
You guys ever watch the Sabbath on Don Kirshner's rock concert? And there's those two fans in the audience that's got those shirts made up with all the band. It says something about Black Sabbath. We sold our souls to them, and they're just losing it, man. Those guys are so fanatical. I've seen them. They've used them in clips over the years for like Sabbath promo stuff because those two guys were going just completely ballistic.
Did you notice also in the crowd, Buck Dharma was there?
He's in the crowd.
There's a good close up of him.
Wow, I never noticed that.
I think it was during Hole in the Sky. Yeah, it's like, oh shit, Buck Dharma.
Checking out the competition. Oh, so this is the because they were supposed to be the U.S. version of Sabbath.
Hey, on an unrelated, there's a Sam Kinison set from I think the Laugh Factory in L.A. when Sam Kinison first started headlining clubs, and it pans to the audience, and the entire original Dio band's in there watching Sam Kinison. So you saw it.
I got to see
good.
Randy Rhoads once. So
You got to see who?
I already talked about that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so absent-minded. Talking about I got to see Randy Rhoads once.
Oh yeah.
I already talked about it. But yeah, I saw Randy Rhoads, Ozzy, and I saw the original Black Sabbath. And I saw Ozzy sprinkle all the way. He was really good on the Bark of the Moon tour. That I saw. He was awesome that night. I love No Rest for the Wicked. I went to that show. And during that show, there were many times I'd go like this so I could block out Zach and Randy. And it looked like Black Sabbath on stage. There was Ozzy and I would fantasize of seeing Black Sabbath because they played like Sweet Leaf that night, and
Yeah.
there were a couple of rarity. War Pigs, I think that's the first time formed War Pigs as a solo artist.
Yeah. Was it Anthrax open?
Yeah. And that was the night Anthrax filmed the Antisocial video. It was,
Mhm.
you know, where the Not Man's running around and that whole outdoor scene. That was at the Sundome because,
Mm.
you know, believe it or not, I mean, at least down here, Ozzy wasn't doing that hot on that tour. They had to cancel the arena because it didn't sell tickets. So I went all the way up to Tampa to see it, which was a good 4-hour drive. And man, the Sundome, I don't know if it's there. Hopefully it's not. I had nosebleeds and it was scary, man, because it was very loud, but the whole balcony was shaking and shit. I'm like, I'm not enjoying this much, man. It scared the fuck. But
I
hey,
saw the beginning.
Ozzy was in that Anthrax video too, wasn't he? Doesn't he take
Yeah,
off the
he
like
was.
the knot head?
yeah,
Yeah.
probably after
It, it's
that
it,
show.
going back to what you said, man, about him not doing that well. You know, when No More Tears first came out, he was doing theaters. That first part of the tour, he did theaters, like smaller rooms.
I saw it.
And
I actually
yeah,
saw it at the same venue. I saw Ozzy with Randy at Sunrise Musical Theater. It was called the Theater of Madness Tour.
right. He did because he played like a civic center in Raleigh. And then next thing you know, No More Tears is just blowing up. And when My Mama Coming Home came out, of course, it was huge. And he started playing bigger places again because he was supposed to come on that tour. He was supposed to come to I think it was the amphitheater here. Excuse me. And I still have a flyer for that. He was supposed to play at the amphitheater. I think Slaughter was the support band on that period. But he didn't. It got canceled for some reason. I don't know. I don't think the tour got canceled. I think that show got moved to a different venue or something. I don't know. But that was right. That was around 92, I guess, or so. And that was kind of when the grunge thing was kind of kicking out and things was changing. So
Well,
yeah.
I seen it earlier in '92 at the Fox Theater with Prong opening up, and then in November the tour ended in Costa Mesa. That was supposed to be his farewell tour, the No More Tour, No More Tours, No More Tears, and even at Costa Mesa they shot fireworks off, and you know, the fireworks at the end of the show after the Black Sabbath set, and the fireworks said, "I'll be back." So even though it was billed as a farewell tour and farewell, you sort of knew he was going to be back. But yeah, that was cool. And
This hat I'm wearing right here, in the inside it says, oh, right on the back it says "No More Tours, Part Volume
right,
2" or Part
right,
2.
Volume
Yeah,
two. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, a
retirement
friend of
son,
mine,
no more
a friend of
tours.
mine just texted me and said that he wonders if Sharon's going to have the funeral pay-per-view.
oh
Yeah,
shit.
Hopefully, no what holograms. Hopefully, never.
Yeah, hopefully the hologram's not or the avatar is not going to be touring
hey, hopefully Phil Susanna show up and kick Sharon in the
Yeah.
face.
Oh man,
Yeah.
in front of the coffin. Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
Also,
all jokes aside, it
I gotta
sucks, but you know,
I gotta
yeah,
say, another impressive thing, extremely impressive thing about Ozzy, he pretty much survived the grunge. You know,
yeah,
it didn't affect him. Everybody else around him was playing clubs. He still came to amphitheaters. He was always big. And to think how big Ozzy was, because Ozzy was, if you really think about it, the biggest rock star there is. The biggest.
well, that was another. Well, I mean, as much as we like to talk smack about Sharon, that was part of her genius was putting together that Ozfest thing because
yeah,
she looked at
the
grunge and new
grunge
metal
was
coming in and
rejected.
said, we're gonna have Ozzy headline these shows, but we're gonna bring all these bands in that are
Well, that's because
popular now.
They wanted Ozzy to play the Lollapaloozas and shit, and they rejected Ozzy. So that's what
Yeah,
prompted them to do their own
right.
fest, and that totally revived everything, and metal in
Yeah,
general revived through that.
But really, Ozfest was already primed because Ozzy on his own was selling out big places. He was still big. Then Ozfest made it bigger. Then he didn't get any more bigger than the Osbourne TV show. That's
yeah.
Yeah,
That's where
That was
Brett,
mad. Yeah, and that's when you go from. I remember, like, my mom saying something about my dad actually said something one time about what's that man with the long hair? He's real funny. I mean, and he was trying to talk about Ozzy, because my parents would have they hated stuff like that, when I was into it as a teenager, because they wouldn't know who Ozzy was versus Kiss, but still, it brought the Osbournes into mainstream, just
He became a
everyone's
household name. He
house,
became a household name from that.
that's it, and people just looked at him as a totally different person. He wasn't the evil satanic guy anymore. He was just kind of funny, jovial, father figure dude that, you know, for the modern times. I mean, he was
I
Mr.
like that.
Brady of the
I
modern
like
times.
that, except for every now and again he would try to do like be evil again, like in a new video or something. And it's like, Ozzy, we just watched
And it
10 seasons of you with your family and your dogs and cats.
and
It
you
didn't
trying to
work
get
after
you
that, you know.
we just watched you try to make a remote to the TV work. So and
Yeah,
you couldn't.
the dangerous, evil, the evil, dangerous like aspect kind of got like screwed because we got to know him too good, you know.
But
But at
I
the
tell you
same
what
time, he was such a character. It was great, you know.
what I really enjoyed was the Jack and Ozzy's World Detour show.
Oh yeah,
If
that
you
was
watched that
cool.
on History,
Yeah, yeah, that was
because
fun.
it was very informative, and Ozzy was a lot sharper than people giving
Yeah,
him credit for. Man, that one where
and he's
they had
fucking
the where they were
hilarious. He's so
where
funny.
they were where they were shooting guns and stuff. Man, he
Yeah,
was like hitting the targets and stuff. And the one where they were in the fire department, he was and he had the water cannon thing, and he was just having a ball, man.
oh, he's so funny.
Yeah,
He's a natural like comedian. Those remember those early like shows, like the Ozfest. They did a little like movie, like a 10
Yeah.
minute thing
Ozzy does
of him just
Hollywood.
like yeah, him just jumping in and out of TV shows and stuff, and it would
Yes.
just be so fucking funny.
I
He
like the
was
one
Yeah,
so
where
I
he's
good.
in
used to
the
have that. I used to have that on video. They
I
sold it at
remember the
shows,
videotapes. Yeah, I didn't get one. I wish I
one of
did.
and
my,
it's like, where he was, it's like he was floating out in space, and what was the space? He was like on Star Trek, and he's knocking on the window, "Let me in!"
And then he's jumping into people's music videos. He'd be like in like a Madonna video or something, you know, and he
Yeah,
would just be acting
Coolio or
all
something.
goofy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, the best
yeah,
one was Alanis Morissette, where she's driving the car, Alanis Morissette, and Ozzy's in the back seat with his hair all done in ponytails, and he's got this big 13-inch long dildo back,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I had,
yeah.
I had, I bought it at Ozfest, a VHS of that Ozzy intro. And
yeah. That's
That's
what I'm
what we were
saying.
saying. Yeah.
he's also in the Beatles. He's with Elvis.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Beatles. Yep, yep.
It's all,
Yeah,
it's hilarious, hilarious.
Pulp Fiction. He's in
yeah, yeah.
the shootout scene. Yeah.
Madonna,
Except he's got a water pit. He's got a water pistol. Yeah.
he did Madonna Vogue.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was a great actor too. And we did the Trick or Treat episode. We talked about the movie Trick or Treat. He should have got an
Yeah.
Oscar for that role. It was a quick one, but Ozzy as
Yeah.
a preacher there.
These
Hey,
evil people must be stopped.
he's better than Gene Simmons for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So
Ozzy
Dio,
wore a lot of caps.
I never showed you guys this. But, when I was 16, and Bark at the Moon, I got Bark at the Moon, I got Bark at the Moon home, and had an address on the back, so you could write Ozzy or for more information or whatever. And so I don't know how many months went by, and I opened the mailbox, and I had this letter with Ozzy's logo and bats. And I
Wow.
was
That's
like,
awesome.
Nice.
holy shit! And I'm like, Ozzy, Ozzy, and I opened it up, and there was a letter on Ozzy's a letterhead, and and it just basically says, "Thank you for your letter. Unfortunately, there is no Ozzy fan club at the moment. Please find enclosed a personally signed photograph from Ozzy. Blah 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 blah. Have a great 1980 or whatever, whatever." Anyway, and it had this little picture in it that was signed by Ozzy.
Oh wow.
Nice.
That's sick.
Cool.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Uh,
man.
I've had that all these years, and it's like it was pretty fun, pretty crazy. But yeah, as this is like that's how obsessed I was. I was writing the address on to the address on the back of a record.
Sick.
Yeah, that's killer.
But, imagine my surprise getting a letter on a letterhead with a logo on it signed by Ozzy. As a 16-year-old. But
I
yeah,
gotta go get it. It's a picture print of Ozzy. I'll be right back.
That'd be cool if you like would have spit a little bat head in there with it. Like, for every little kid, he's give me another bat.
High
right.
number says in the chat, people forget in the 80s, Ozzy had a real drug vibe. Decline of Western civilization. Remember that? That was so crazy. And he's cooking breakfast.
Yeah.
And he's but they had went back and reshot that scene where he's pouring the orange juice and they show him like missing the glass and shit.
Yeah.
That had to be like added in.
She said it was staged. She said that was staged. They said that was staged.
Yeah, just like Chris Holmes. Chris Holmes was drinking water in the pool, not vodka.
I don't know.
They edited out a pan full of bats. There was a pan full of bats that he was like flipping over, but they edited that out.
Bat cakes. Yeah.
When I first met Ozzy, I had him sign several things, but I've always loved this picture. This is a picture from Cream magazine in the 70s.
Nice.
I hope you can see Ozzy sign it up here.
Yeah, sick.
Killer. Yeah, that's a good photo.
And there's a picture of Ozzy like a couple of years ago doing the same damn pose. But yeah,
I saw that on the episode of Dr. Fuck's Cribs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I showed it off. I'm proud.
I got that High Times issue where it's like a whole issue of him and Tony fucking sitting around with tons of barrels of pot and joints everywhere.
Yeah, I saw. I don't have that magazine, but I have seen it. Yeah, and I got the "You Said It All." Picture this, Mr. Crowley live. I had him sign that. I had him sign this one with Jakey Lee and another one during No More Tears. And I got the Blizzard of Oz tour book that I bought that night. I had him sign that. I do have a Madman tour book, but I am signing it. I didn't see that tour, but I forgot. I saw that Diary of a Madman tour book in a store, and it's huge. It's a really big ass book. So I got that too.
Awesome.
All the Ozzy tour books. I got Bar of the Moon, Ultimate Sin. That No Rest for the Wicked, they didn't. They had a book for, which was weird. That was the tour book of the No Rest for the Wicked. Was the Randy Rhoads tribute book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was very odd. And I got No More Tears and the Sabbath ones after that. I collect everything Ozzy all my life, man. All I do is just fucking, and I listen to Ozzy. I don't think I go a month without listening to either Ozzy or Black Sabbath with Ozzy. My whole life for decades.
Yeah.
So what's everybody's favorite Ozzy solo album?
Mine's Diary of a Madman.
Diary for me.
Yeah, Diary.
I'm gonna go Blizzard of Oz. I'm the only one. It seems like everybody always picks Diary, and it's the same thing with Heaven and Hell Mob Rules. It seems like everybody picks Mob Rules, but I go Heaven and Hell, and I go with this one, my Blizzard of Oz, Knuckle Bones. The cross just broke when I grabbed it today. I still have the cross, but it just broke when I grabbed them. But
get some glue.
Yeah,
Gorilla Glue will fix it.
But it was talking about, like he was saying earlier, when you look at the album covers, there's something about, I remember having both of these from like Columbia House when I was a kid. They were like some of the first like 12 things I started collecting in music was these two albums. And I always thought that Blizzard of Oz had a more sinister look to it, where on Diary, it just has like a kind of a silly, he looks sillier. He almost looks like happy on it. Like he looks crazy, but he looks kind of happy. It's something. And then the song Mr. Crowley, for me, is what puts it over the top as being my favorite Ozzy album.
Yeah, but the thing about, and I'll say this, man, I know it may not be a popular opinion, but I think the Diary of a Madman album cover is a little too busy. Where Blizzard of Oz is like straight to the point,
Yeah.
You got to have the Korean version, like Richard sent me. It's just a cat in the window with the
this got a couple things. He's got the goat skull like on the back, and he's got a human skull, and there's a cat in this one too. So the cat makes an appearance twice, and the upside, well, the cross should have been upside down. He don't got it upside down, but something about that. Whenever I look back at that album, I still get that feeling, kind of like what Richard was saying, looking at, Diary. It's like you get that feeling of discovering this music back then. This is like my first steps, and it's a crazy time that I get Columbia House. I've told the story a bunch of times, but I get my first Black Sabbath, I get my first Ozzy's, and then at the time Dio's in Black Sabbath. So I'm getting Live Evil and Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, and then before you know it, Born Again comes out. So within like a year's time, I'm just being overloaded by this monster called Black Sabbath, and then the offshoots, then Dio's solo band starts, and then Ozzy's putting out more and more albums, and then Black Sabbath's continue. And it just never ended for me. And it all stems back to getting that Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman and Paranoid in the first Black Sabbath. They were like the first like four things I got.
Ozzy ruled the 80s. I mean, when Blizzard came out, Heaven and Hell, and come on, everybody was like, fuck Ozzy, man. This Heaven and Hell is the shit. Dude, Ozzy eclipsed Black Sabbath how many times over?
Oh yeah. And that's when he was biting heads off the bats and stuff. That wasn't happening during Black Sabbath. So he was doing it more for his Ozzy solo stuff. So he was getting bigger than Sabbath was, even when he was in Sabbath.
Well,
that's how big he was.
He performed an act. He bit the head off a bat, and this is pre-cell phone videos. I mean, there's no video of him biting the head off a bat. Just the legend of that just went so far.
Well, then there was the pictures of him biting the dove's head, though, in the record label.
Yeah,
thing,
that happened first.
So he and then getting arrested at the Alamo, and it was just like every time he turned around, then all of a sudden he's bald, and you're like, "What the fuck? This guy's a madman. This guy was insane." And if we didn't get to know Ozzy later, he would have went down as like this insane Gigi Allen kind of character or something, But it ended up becoming this lovable like thing that grandmas love and stuff,
He was like Gigi Allen before Gigi Allen. Lars Ulrich one time told the story. He was in an elevator with Ozzy, and Ozzy's all drunk. He's just standing there like this, and he just noticed a bunch of piss coming down. He's just all over himself, man. I mean,
we've all had a friend like that.
and you know what? This ain't a popular opinion, but Sharon Osbourne did not save Ozzy's life. She saved his career. But when Ozzy, Sharon Osbourne during Dark of the Moon, all that shit, come on. Did he slow down? That guy kept getting plastered, and she wasn't stopping it. She saved his career.
She's the one who threw the bat at him when he was she knew he was wasted that night. She threw a bat at him. She's like, Ozzy, grab it.
And how great is that story? Let's go into the record company. Let's throw these doves in the air. And they do that. One lands on Ozzy. Ozzy grabs it. And it's funny because the pictures of him biting the dove's head off, you see the executive, the girl executive, she's got like half a smile. Then the next picture, she's like, it's fucking.
A little bit of blood.
He's there with a headless chick, and his eyes are cross-eyed and shit. And he's like, fucking Ozzy rule, man. Come on. Ozzy shit, man.
But he wasn't known as a madman when he was in Sabbath, though. That was a whole he kind of that whole just I guess the whole thing with the madman thing just kind of came with it built it from Blizzard of Oz and up, the whole persona that I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I think it was leading up into Ozzy's career though. The last once Sabbath started having money and they all just became out of control coke maniacs, I think like he was doing crazy shit, and just a lot of it wasn't getting documented that way. But you hear all the stories now. They were all pretty crazy,
I got
especially drug use.
I have a great Ozzy story. During the Volume 4 days, they were doing a lot of blow at that time, right? But one night, while they were recording, they were staying at some hotel or some shit, and Ozzy went out to the pool to get some sun, right? And he made friends with this dude there. And they got to talking, and then Ozzy goes, "Hey, want some cocaine?" And he's like, "No, it's okay." And then they kept talking. And then Ozzy goes, "So what do you do for a living?" He goes, I work for the DA. I work for the drug enforcement. And Ozzy's scared. He goes, don't worry, man. I'm the guy bringing you the coke. Ain't
Yeah,
that a
there was also a story where he hit some silent alarm by accident, and the cops showed up at the house. They were at the mansion that they were recording at or whatever, and he accidentally set off the silent alarm, and the cops show up, and they're in there flushing all this stuff down the toilet.
Yeah. And then there's the story where he gets wasted and goes to the wrong hotel and goes into a room and just sleeps for like 24 hours. And the band goes to the next show, and like he's not Ozzy doesn't show up, and he shows up the following day and he acts like nothing happened. Like he thinks like 8 hours just went by, and he's like, no, they
that,
had to like cancel the show.
that was the never say.
Wow.
They can't. No, I believe Van Halen played a full set, and then Ozzy showed up the next day like nothing happened because they gave him a key to some hotel and he was in the wrong room or some shit.
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
hotels look the same. Every night he's in a different place. So you can see that happening. But the fact that he slept like 24 hours straight is what, if he would have woke up and just like at a normal time and somebody would have found him wandering around, but he just like kept sleeping because nobody could find him to wake him up.
There was also stories of people that left their shoes out in the hotel hallway. He would take a dump in them.
Yeah, he pooped as a hobby of his.
And they said you couldn't sleep around Ozzy Osbourne. Or shave your eyebrows off. That was another thing. He would shave everybody's eyebrows off.
I know he did it to that Lindsey Bridgewater, the keyboardist.
Mm.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
But yeah, it's a sad day. What else is there to say, man? The guy, I'll try. I'm going to watch that documentary now, and then
I was thinking of that documentary too on my big screen outdoor. It's funny. I was thinking of the same thing. It was because I just recently watched The Last Supper DVD out there after the Back to the Beginning. I said I want to watch like a full Ozzy fucking great DVD. I love that DVD. So I just watched that on the big screen, and it's fucking awesome. And then I was just thinking right before we came on, I'll probably put that Ozzy documentary on, but maybe I'll go for another live one because I don't know. I think it'd be kind of sad to see watching them talking and stuff.
I like
talking.
the don't blame me videos is really good too. That first documentary came out during No More Tears.
I got that.
That was the whole thing about the suicide thing where Ozzy's going, I never said anything about get the gun. He's kind of cracking up because that lawyer or whatever, get the gun, shoot.
Get the gun. I have a song. We never released it. I was in a band called Old Leather, and I have the recording. We have a song called Heavy Metal Suicide, and the whole song is pro suicide, like take your life, heavy metal suicide. Yeah, and I use clips of that guy talking during the get the gun, shoot. I should put that out.
Yeah.
The Hemi Sync. You could hear it. Suicide. Oh my God.
Get the Gun would be a good song too.
Yeah.
A good name.
Noel says in the chat, he says the best Ozzy story is that Tony would drop him off at the wrong house after every gig, and he'd have to walk 2 miles home to dark.
Tony Iommi said a story once, like before Black Sabbath had an album out, they were playing some club, and the owner of the club came right up to Tony Iommi with Ozzy standing right there. And he goes, you guys are all right, but your singer's shit. And Ozzy standing while he's telling him. That's fucked up.
I love the stories about when Ozzy first like shows up to like rehearsals. He used to wear like a sink, like spigot thing like around his neck because like they didn't have no jewelry. It's like he's already like a bum and he got like no shoes and shit, and then he's got like this fucking spigot or something like hanging on his neck. Like that's how like they came from such nothing. Like it was like such a working man's like kind of band, but they was like even poorer than the regular blue collar kind of working band. They really came from nothing and became fucking legends.
I forget what it was that Ozzy was logging, but Bill Ward told the story where Ozzy had a leash, but it didn't have a dog on it, it had something else on it, and he would walk it everywhere. And also, this was in the Ozzy book. Ozzy, before he was in a band or anything, he would break into shops, and they caught him because when he would break in, he'd have fingerless gloves, so he left his prints everywhere.
Man,
Yeah, when he was
wow.
in jail for that is when he did the little Ozzy on his fingers, and he had those smiley faces on his knees. He had like, that was another thing he kind of did before anybody's like, Bon Scott had a few tattoos and stuff, but Ozzy really kind of went kind of crazy with the tattoos before like no one had any like chest
Yeah,
tattoos and stuff like that back
yeah.
then. You had Paul
Right.
Stanley with his little tiny rose and stuff. You didn't have like real like he definitely was like an influence on that whole
He used to have
generation too.
he had Thelma. He had Thelma on his arm. He had to get that bat to cover it up, his first wife's name, But how many out there, everybody did you used to write Ozzy on your knuckles back in the day? We all did.
I did at an Ozzy show. I went to an Ozzy show like that. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Crazy.
damn,
Yeah.
hurts,
It's
man.
crazy. It's crazy to think that we live in a world right now where Ozzy's energy and power, like I mean, that's always going to be there, but like just his presence, like he's not here now. It's such
I
a
know.
weird thought, and
Mm.
everybody's like, oh, we knew it's coming. We knew it was coming. It's like I always thought this would be maybe one of the worst of all of the rock stars and stuff that I've loved. I always like Wendy O. Williams was the one because she committed suicide that really like hurt. And Dio's was just super fucking sad. Motorhead's Lemmy's that we kind of seen coming, but man, I think once this really sets in, I think this is going to be the hardest one to get over out of all of them. I mean Eddie Van Halen was sad and stuff, but I think this is going to be the saddest one. The more I think about it,
I don't mean anything bad by this, but when Keith Richards kicks the bucket, everybody better look out. Must be the end of the world.
Yeah,
Right.
and you know what, man? Out of all the celebrity deaths, this is the only one ever that I can't listen to the music yet. I need time. Like I listen,
We
I fair warning the day Eddie died. I listened to Motorhead, Sleep Till Hammersmith when Lemmy died, and Dio. I cranked probably Rainbow Rising. I know I always played music. John Sykes. I played Blue Murder, but Ozzy, I tried, man. I put on Sadly Sad, and I couldn't get through it. I need time because this one hits me so hard that it's even hard for me to listen to them. You know?
It's therapy for me, man. But everybody looks at things different.
Yeah.
Yep.
I tried to listen to Diary today, and it was sort of it feels different now, knowing he's gone for sure.
I put Blizzard on right before, I got to listen to a few songs right before we came on. And it's always you're just gonna hear it and think about him more in a different way for a while, and then you get used to it the way you do when you listen to Dio and Motorhead now. You get you just rejoice in it after a while. But it's definitely gonna be tough for a while. This is fucking such an important person in any real true metalhead's life, especially people of our age and stuff that been into this music for so long. Ozzy, one of the godfathers and one of the greatest icons of this whole thing we call heavy metal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
Thank you guys so much joining me tonight because this was important. There may not be an Almost Human live this week. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, this really hurts, man. I'm glad I was home for this though. This would have killed
Yeah,
me. You
yeah. I'm glad you were home too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. I'm glad you're home anyway.
I,
Right. Good.
Yeah,
I probably would have still been there now. You know what I mean? If Ozzy died, it probably would have made it way worse, man. So, it's
yeah. You might not have recovered. You might not have recovered.
Ozzy means the world to me. He always has. If you watch any of my videos, I'm always defending the guy, telling everybody you don't know what you're talking about when you say he doesn't have no talent. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Bob Daisley and Tony Iommi. Hey, man, they all, Tony Iommi, even Tony Iommi, they all sold the most records when they had Ozzy Osbourne singing for him. And that goes for Bob Daisley and Jakey Lee and right down the line. Everybody that's been associated with Ozzy never achieved the greatness of his popularity, you know. And believe me, I love Sabbath. I love a lot of Sabbath more than solo Ozzy, but there's no denying the solo Ozzy was bigger than every carnation of Sabbath, you know, without him. You know, and that shows. Well, again, you got to hand it to Sharon Osbourne for that. You know, I may badmouth the girl, but
I was a little kid in the '70s, so I didn't get to really know the impact of how big Sabbath was in the '70s. Like I could look back and see what other bands were playing at the time, but it seemed like bands like Led Zeppelin eclipsed Sabbath so much, so they weren't like as big as I think they should have been. But I wasn't around for that. I just noticed, like when I got into metal and music in the '80s, like you were saying, Ozzy ruled. You know, that's what you've seen everywhere. Ozzy rules. That's what you would see spray painted on places.
Black Sabbath with Ozzy was way more famous when they reunited. They were playing
Oh yeah, yeah,
they were playing arenas and stuff, but they were at the level of, you know, Boyce the Cult in the '70s, and you know they were like
yeah,
arena bands. You know, Led Zeppelin was stadiums. You know, that's like
yeah,
stone shit. That's whole other level. So yeah, and also Ozzy said in interviews, is like, man, we always felt less than everybody in the '70s. You know, like we weren't as good because of their managers, because they got ripped off blind. You know, but they, you know, they
yeah,
were big plays and they got just robbed. You know, but man,
yeah.
what fucking legacy he left. You know, you know, really, I mean, to me, you know, up to Park of the Moon, everything under that. God damn, what a legacy, man! And to come
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
and what you're wearing, Ralph, is what's behind you. I worship Speak of the Devil. Ever since it was a brand new album, I played the living hell, and I still play it like crazy. What an amazing album that is!
What an
Yeah.
iconic album cover. I mean,
Yeah,
that made you wonder what if you didn't know what is that?
I
And
got
Ozzy had a midget on tour. Look at Ozzy had a midget way before Kid Rock thought of fucking bringing a midget around with him. You know, it's like he was doing that shit fucking decades ahead of him.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
so do you guys do all you? I know Tony does, but do you guys know the runic writing around? Speak of, you know what it says on the album and everything.
no. You know what, Richard? I've never known. I know
Really?
some shit, but I never looked into it.
I can tell you, and I thought about this today for some reason. The On the front it says let me pull this paper out. Can't read it. Around Ozzy on the front cover, it says "Howdy, Diary, a Demon Productions in conjunction with Graveyard Graphics proudly present blah 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 Diary, the Madman of Rock, taking a dump in El Satano's toilet, really tasty." And then around the centerfold, which is the centerfold,
Yeah.
it
That's my
says
shirt.
yeah, it says a tribute to Randy Rhoads Axeman. This kid was my lifeline, you know. He was such a good dynamic player, and I'd rather not talk about it anymore because it cuts me up every day of my life. Randy Rhoads, in peace and love. That's
Wow.
in the centerfold. And the circular thing around the back, it reads the translation.
Schmackamagab. It says that says
No, it
Schmackamagab. It
doesn't.
goes all the way
No,
around.
it
Yeah.
says Ozzy Osbourne, rock and roll madman. So that's what all the writing is on this thing.
It
But
seems like there's a piece of paper in my Talk of the Devil that I
yeah,
got. I think there's a piece of paper that somebody had tried to figure it out, and I just
I
think
thought I
it's
sent you one of these. I got a decoder
Oh,
from a dude years ago, and I thought I
maybe
sent
that's
you
what it
one.
is. Maybe
But
that's
I,
where I got it. It
yeah,
was from you. I can't
yeah.
remember yet.
But I got an odd turn of events. I had this one signed by Ozzy. This is another piece I drug around. This was signed in a day before the Ultimate Sin show in this town, Carrollton, Georgia, because Sony Records had a pressing plant back then here, and Ozzy came to do a tour of it, and I was told he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. I flat out did not believe it, and then I just grabbed diary and speak and ran out there because I just thought maybe there's a chance. The lady I knew worked there told me we hung up a bunch of those horrible posters of him sticking out his tongue like a monster, and it was Ultimate Sin. And I went out there and there was a tour bus, and I walked right up to the bus and asked the guy, "When's Ozzy coming out?" And he said about 5 minutes. So, and that was filmed for Japanese TV for with a Japanese film crew, and that was the day before the Ultimate Sin show in Atlanta, and I just dumb lucked into it. I really could not conceive Ozzy was going to come to my hometown, and but yeah, he did. He made the paper. He did the tour of the plant, how they pressed his records, and he it made the big front page news here in town. But I had him sign diary too, which is and he pointed. I couldn't understand what he was saying. He actually seemed sort of well, he seemed sort of drunk, but he kept saying, "Did I finally caught?" He said, "Did you know that was my son?" And he pointed to the kid on diary, and he said, "Yeah, that's my son." And I guess that's Lewis, which I didn't know
Lewis.
about Lewis then. But
you
yeah,
just posted that Speak of the Devil like
yeah, I
yesterday or the
did,
day before?
I
Just
did, and
yesterday?
I had no idea he's gonna
Yeah.
die. But yeah,
What weird timing? Because I just seen that post that you did of that album with the
yeah,
autographs and shit.
I did. And I got Brad Gillis. He played here in the same town, college with Helix and Night Ranger. And then, of course, Sarzo was with Whitesnake and Tommy Aldridge was with Ted Nugent. But yeah, it's yeah, it was. I fell in love with Speak of the Devil too. It's simultaneously. I think it may have preceded Live Evil by a month, but not. It wasn't long. Wasn't a big time difference in those two. It was around the same time period. And but yeah,
Yeah.
I loved them both. Live Evil and Speak of the
That
Devil.
was pretty much my introduction to Sabbath era Ozzy era Sabbath, that is, because like I've told a story before. The first thing I ever got was an older guy on the school bus gave me a cassette with Heaven and Hell on one side and Blizzard of Oz on the other. So that was my whole introduction to Ozzy and Black Sabbath, Dio, and everything. And then somebody else I got him to record me Diary of a Madman. And the first record I bought with my own money, as far as a real copy, was on cassette of Speak of the Devil. And then
Mm,
that cover was the selling point. It's like I got to get that.
yeah,
That looks
I know.
killer. And honestly, I didn't know it was Black Sabbath songs until I got further into it, did some research or whatever. But that was the first way I ever heard Black Sabbath songs, because when I bought Black Sabbath's greatest hits a year or so later, it sounded like ancient
Yeah,
caveman music to me,
yeah,
because I was so used to 80s and 80s production, and you hear that old stuff, and even though it was less than 10 years old, some of those songs, they sounded like they had been recorded 40 years in the past, because they just sounded slow compared to the way Ozzy did the songs.
yeah.
But I grew to love them.
Sad thing about this was I the edgeware and the oh my god, this record
Who
got
cares? Once it's signed by everybody, who gives a
yeah.
fuck about that?
Well,
Put that shit in a
that's
frame. Put that shit in
character.
a frame, and who cares?
right
Hell yeah, man.
before
That's character.
before it was
I
signed before CDs even in the early mid '80s. When I went to California or wherever, I would take this fucking record in luggage, and it would just get beat
Yeah,
to death. But I couldn't. I
sure.
felt like I couldn't go a few days without listening to Speak of the Devil or Diary of a Madman. So I lugged them all over the country. But
I've
yeah.
told the story a couple of times. I don't know if I told it here, but the first like rock stars I ever met was Night Ranger. We were at my friend's house, so a bunch of those metalhead little kids, 12-year-old or whatever, and we had the Orange County Fairgrounds by us, and a lot of big bands played there throughout the years. And Night Ranger and 38 Special were playing that night, and I didn't listen to either one of them. And somebody told us, "Hey, I was just at the laundromat, and fucking Night Ranger's down here." So we all look at each other and we're like, "Night Ranger, who gives a shit?" And then someone's like, "Yo, the guitar player's on this album," and he pulled out the fucking Speak of the Devil, and we were like, "Oh!" We all jumped on our bikes and we rode down there, and they were cool as hell. It was the singer from Night Ranger, I don't even know his name, and then Brad Gillis, and they were pointing at all our shirt. Well, Brad Gillis was pointing at our shirts, and it was like we were wearing like Judas Priest and Ozzy, and so he's like, "I knew them, I played with them," and then he was just like being super friendly, and he was like, "Oh, you guys coming to the show tonight?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're coming," and we knew how to sneak into the fairground, so we weren't even planning on going, but we ended up going to the show, and it was pretty cool, even though I to this day I never ended up getting a Night Ranger album or a 38 Special album, but but it was cool. And then like the next rock stars I ever met was like a couple years later with it was Ozzy was playing on Ultimate Sin with Metallica opening, and we went to the Metallica tour bus, and I got to meet Cliff Burton and the whole band of
Oh man.
Metallica. So that's the first full band I met was Metallica with Cliff Burton, but I didn't get to meet Ozzy that night. And out of all the people like on my list of people to meet, I'm like Ralph. I've met a ton of people, and like you guys, all of us, we've all met a lot. If we have a chance to meet people that we like listening to their music and we're big fans of, we try to meet them, get something signed. Ozzy was on the top of my list. I've met Tony Iommi. I never met Ozzy, and it kills me that I never will. I
Yeah,
love you,
same here.
Ozzy.
I never
Rest in
met him.
peace. I love you, Ozzy. I'll meet you in hell, and I'll get you to
Yep.
sign
Yep.
everything.
That 2010 tour, Ralph was talking about the meet and greets. I remember they were $1,000, and I did like I said, I did the Ozfest portion of that. I didn't do the winter portion, which had Halford or Zombie or both. I did the Ozfest, and I remember thinking 1,000. He would only do 30 a day, and I would watch some of those. He did them right outside his dressing room on an amphitheater. I mean, I would stand there and watch. I collected, so I was always curious what people were going to pay $1,000 for, what they wanted, which seemed like astronomical then, but now, I mean, now 1,000. Now you got Gene Simmons charging 300 for an autograph. So I mean, the
Well,
$1,000.
just like about a year and a half ago, I don't know how far away it was. It was in Pennsylvania somewhere. I know somebody that went to it, but it was $666. But it
Right,
was Sharon, Ozzy, and Kelly and Jack, and they
right.
all sat down at a table. You get to meet them all. You get their autographs, and $666. And I know somebody went for that, and I just I'd love to do that, but I don't got the. I'm not paying paying rent for the month to go fucking meet somebody like that. I would love to. If I had the money, I would do it in a second. Like if I was a millionaire, I'd be fucking. I'd pay to live at his house for a weekend or whatever. But
Pay 12,000 to be his roadie. Yeah,
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I would.
Gene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I would watch these meet and greets, and they went really fast in 2010. But most people didn't have anything to say. Most people didn't have anything worth a fuck to get signed. I mean, and I would watch. They'd pay $1,000, and he would do 30 of them, and it would take. I think the longest one I ever witnessed was 15 minutes, and I've seen people get. They paid $1,000 for this, yet they would show up like they were totally blindsided. I watched a guy struggle one day to get a cigarette pack out of cellophane, rip the cigarette pack open so he could get the white part, the inside of the cigarette
Oh my
pack
god.
signed by Ivy. I've seen people get
Jeez.
dollar bills signed. I've seen people get
Oh,
just
dollar bill.
random, and I always thought, my God, dude, you're paying $1,000. I mean, you got a picture with, but it's like we really don't
No,
have a Black
that's what
Sabbath.
Yeah, that's
cassette.
what makes you
You
sick
don't have
though about like
anything.
going to concerts though. It's like same thing. You got the fucking first 5 rows, oh $5,000. So there's a bunch of rich pricks up there, don't even give a fuck. They're just there because it's an expensive ticket to get. They don't
Yeah,
even care. And the fucking poor motherfucker who's got every fucking album, knows every word to every song, is
right.
up in the fucking nosebleeds, you know? That fucking
Yeah.
sucks.
I always heard Billy Joel used to leave the first row of the seats unsold, and he would go up. They'd send the roadies up to find fans up in the nosebleeds and bring them down to sit on the front row because he knew those were
Get
the
the
real fans.
That's
You
These
know.
fucking assholes like Bruce Springsteen having $5,000 tickets all over the fucking whole venue. You didn't give a fuck
Yeah,
about it.
No, no.
yeah,
Aerosmith
that's
does it
ridiculous.
too. I did an Aerosmith run in '04, and they did a velvet rope. VIP was 600, and then it was like, oh my God. The last thing they did in Vegas, I knew a guy that paid 5,000 to sit on the side of the stage with Joe Perry, and Joe Perry would hand you a guitar pick in the middle of the show, and I'm like,
You got to
wow.
be able to sing a song. They got to let you do a whole song. They got to let you do "Dream On." You $5,000, you're doing "Dream On." Come on out here.
Right.
Walk this
Well,
way.
But
you know, we come from the old school guys. We were the guys that were there hanging out at the venues before the
right,
shows and after the shows, and we get autographs and pictures for free because they were glad to see they had fans, and sometimes
right.
they didn't care about that, but sometimes they still come out anyway.
Yep,
And
yep,
of course they were still making good money from the records and stuff,
yep, yep,
record
yep.
sales. And they don't,
Yeah,
and when it went
that's
out,
true.
when
That's
all when
true. That's
and
the difference.
when streaming came in and they weren't making that money anymore, they
Yep.
were looking for alternate ways to make money. And of course,
Yep.
tickets were already
And you can't you
going
can't
up.
blame them in that way because of that. Just that alone. There was no money coming in. Their meet and greets, but it sucks that like that even became a thing. Once it became a thing, meet and greets. It's different if you met them at a convention where that's all they're doing is selling like their autographed picture. But if you meet somebody at a show and you're already paid to get in, they could give you 2 seconds to sign something. But depends
Yeah,
on how
yeah.
what level they are and stuff. It's crazy when you go to a club and they little club shows and they're doing meet and greets. It's like you only got 30 people here. Just fucking meet them really quick.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like Ace
Yeah.
Ace Frehley playing a little club. He wants to charge $200 to fucking walk backstage and take a picture with him. Like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
yeah.
speaking of Night Ranger, Ralph, it's the so when I got this Speak of the Devil signed by Brad Gillis, like I said, it was 80. I guess it probably was 85. Whenever the Night Ranger video hit, Sister Christian and all that, and Helix and Night Ranger, and so I just had Brad Gillis sign this record. I really didn't know what to say to the guy, and a friend with me had a couple of beers, and he's like, "Hey, why'd you fucking quit Ozzy? You fucking quit Ozzy. Ozzy's the fucking king of metal. Ozzy fucking Osbourne. You fucking quit Ozzy. What the fuck?" And Brad Gillis got really crazy. Like he looked at him. He's like, "You want to know why? Because you can't fucking work for people that won't pay you. That's fucking why." And he was so pissed off. He was just
Oh
his threw
man.
into a rage, bringing it Ozzy up. But I didn't do it. The guy next to me did. But
Well, it's
That's
better than him
hilarious.
saying because Night Ranger is where it's at. Ozzy's
right.
in the past. Night Ranger's the new shit.
When
I mean,
when I met Ozzy in 2010, where you're telling Richard, it was very organized, right? And they explained to each and every one of us, stand in line and wait till you meet Ozzy. The guy explained it to us perfectly, right? So there, Ozzy comes in, and we're all excited. And this dude that's behind me just walks right across the room up to Ozzy. And the security guard grabbed him, man. What the hell? Didn't you hear me? Like, this guy was just like a zombie, like Ozzy. He's just, it was a great, but
yeah,
that was,
people,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
people do get stupid with him. I've seen that a few times, but luckily when I toured with him, he had Big Val Bachacas, who was from Pantera's body, Pantera Security, and he was
Yeah,
a
what
year,
about?
yeah, he was a big Alabama football player, and I seen him punch many people, including Brett Hines of Mastodon, and
Hell yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's my story when this picture right here was taken in Ozzy's dressing room in Tampa.
Oh,
I have two
wow.
two
Awesome.
memories. That photo sitting in his dressing room with him, and Big Val punching Brent Hines of Mastodon. And he hit him so hard it knocked the fucking air out of him, and he just fell backwards on the ground. But
Yeah.
that
I got a
I paid,
friend. I got a
paid to
friend
see
who's
that.
got that picture with the, where Ozzy was doing the choking thing with a lot of people. And my
Yeah,
friend put up the picture with Ozzy choking him and the other guys in Black Sabbath behind him. And I'm like, this is the greatest picture on Facebook. Like I would have killed to have that picture. I just want to say before this ends is that I thought this was going to be the saddest fucking episode I've ever done on any kind of Zoom thing, but talking with you guys and hearing all your stories actually makes me fucking feel good. Like I was coming
Yeah.
into this like tearing up kind of right before we were about to do this because the more I kept just thinking about them, I'm like, I don't want to be like a little fucking wuss up here crying and shit. But just talking with you guys, and it actually was like a therapy session tonight. So just want to
Yeah.
thank
yeah,
you all. I'm glad everybody showed up tonight, and this was fucking great.
I
Love
agree.
Yeah,
Ozzy.
man.
I agree.
same here, same here.
All you
Yeah,
guys
man.
telling your stories of Ozzy, celebrating Ozzy. You know,
Right,
yes,
Yep.
celebration of life.
we're
Cheers,
mourning,
Ozzy.
we're mourning,
Yep.
but we're also celebrating the joy
Yep.
that brought to me through my life. Huge
And
part of
still will bring to us forever.
so
We'll never have, we'll always be listening to him forever.
till the end of
And
time.
all those later albums that we didn't listen to that much, it'll be like those later Dio albums that I keep going back to now. It's like now I'm absorbing them because I'm not getting new Dio albums. So now I'll
Right.
start to absorb those later Ozzy albums more, and I'll appreciate them more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, yep.
Ooh.
I did
Hey,
the same thing with Ronnie. Same thing. I went back, started digging through Master of the Moon and all this stuff I never listened to.
Yeah,
Just
Magica. Now I love
right,
Magica.
right.
I couldn't stand it when it came out. Now I fucking love it.
Yeah, same thing.
well, guys, again, thank you all. This was a lot of fun. Now I'm gonna go watch that documentary, and I'm sure I'll cry. Hey, man, I cried earlier. When I did my little news report, I had to pause it a couple times. I got choked up, man. This
Yeah,
hurt. This
it
hurt
does.
more than
And you said you cried when Youngblood did the Changes song when you watched back to the beginning, right? Didn't you say that?
no.
Oh, that wasn't you. Oh, that was somebody else. That must have been another channel I was watching.
Yeah.
Man.
All
Well,
right.
hey, man, Richard, thanks for showing up,
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
and also Tony
Yeah.
D, Count
Thanks
Robert.
for being. Yeah, man. Thanks for having us, man. Glad you're home. Glad you're doing better.
Thank you. And what's next Thursday? Don't we have next
Yeah,
Thursday?
next Thursday. Yeah, Richard. Next Thursday, which is the 31st, we're gonna have Jackson Spires. He messaged me back
You ain't
today.
having Jackson because
Oh,
he's dead.
I can't do 31st.
Oh, you
Greg
can't.
T. Walker.
No, David Lee Roth is that night.
Oh, I thought you missed David Love. I had to switch it then. Okay,
Yeah, because
that's cool.
next
What are we
Thursday,
doing?
didn't we have something planned for next Thursday though? I thought we did.
We were supposed to do a Manowar. Manowar slipped through the cracks somewhere.
Yeah.
I think we should do like 5 more Ozzy episodes before we can continue
Right.
with normal
Yeah.
airplay. Next week is
Yeah.
Osmosis, your favorite
Right.
songs, whatever,
Well, I
Hey,
got to cut out, guys. But
all right, everybody.
yeah,
Thanks for tuning in. And thanks again, everybody.
Hey,
Oh my
my
God.
favorite picture of Ozzy right here.
Oh,